doesn't matter how much particulate. I just want to get out most of the grit. I've wet sanded this thing to get rid of the, there are a couple of rust spots, namely right here. It was really bad. And the guy had fucking, I don't know, he carved his fucking initials and his birth date into the bluing right here. And we can't have that. So I just took some nice fan sandpaper. I had to do that for some other spots too. The main place that this thing had any rust on was right across here and a little bit on here, which makes sense because when you go to break it open, that's where you're going to hold on to it. So I soaked it in Kroil for a couple of days, and then I've wet sanded any of that. And I already looked it up. This is not some kind of crazy, you know, short run special issued. No. There's a fucking company in California back in the 60s that imported a whole shit ton of these Enfield surplus pistols, and they had them fucking cut short by a gunsmith out there in California. Then they did that to compete with the Smith & Wesson 38. So it's not some crazy rare thing. It's just something that somebody did back in the 60s. So I don't feel bad about destroying the original bluing and air or anything like that. I'm not doing some travesty to history here. I'm actually just trying to make this thing look as nice as it can. So it should be pretty sweet. I'm just gonna see, this was the part that I couldn't figure out, is why there is no lanyard on this. If it was a normal Enfield, why was there no lanyard? Well, I still don't have an answer to that. But it's just like this little lanyard button. Unless, of course, when that company had that Smith cut the barrel short, perhaps they just cut the lanyard off and left the button in there. That could very well be the case. I did have to straighten the front sight, which is a lot more difficult than you can imagine, because as much as that looks like the original sights where they can be taken off, this cannot be taken off. And it was not put on there very straight. So there might be, I don't know, there could very well be some more fucking around with that in the future. Lots of Kroil. Get on the thing there. Here we go. So lock up. And it looks, I mean, it looks as well as it's gonna look, I think. And I mean, it is pretty straight, so I'm happy with it. Yeah. Let's see. Looks, no, it looks alright. Just trying to see if that's a little more rust in there, or if I pretty well got it. If I can get away with. Yeah, there are a couple of little pits. Little pits. I don't like pits. Nice clean, rust-free surfaces. Okay. We rinse. Would anybody like some used Croyle? That one looks good. Let's see, that one does have a little bit of, I don't know if that'll show up or not, but there's a little bit of galling on the head of this one, so I'm just gonna kind of clean it up a little bit. Because I'm rebluing this whole thing, so the screws would be no different. And in a pinch, if you're just trying to you know, clean up the head of a screw a little bit, you can use a bluing pen. Shh. It actually works really good. And I will take Croyle and liberally lube the whole works. This is what I use for doing all my gun cleaning after I'm done at the range too. So, and it works good.